Chapter 4. The Girl. 8 years ago. Aldemir bursts into his best friend's house, pure excitement and joy shining on his face. "Guess what?" he asks. "She didn't," responds Raymar, standing up from his chair and slamming his hands on the table. "You know she did. The Queen fully supports our request to start a village on the western coast." "No way!" "She didn't stop there," Aldemir adds. "Oh?" "She will be sponsoring the whole thing. The trek, the means of travel, transportation, guards, contracting, literally everything. We'll have enough to start a comfortable village, and even more to cover anything else we'll need for a whole year." "That's..." Raymar pauses for a brief moment. "Fantastic. So what's the catch? This all seems a bit too good to be true." "There is one condition," says Aldemir. "Spill it, pal." "Our main export is going to be snails." Raymar stares blankly at his friend. "Let me see if I heard you right. Did you say snails?" "Turns out the Queen's favorite color is blue, and they use snails to make blue-colored dyes. This business should make us lots..." "That's different." Raymar begins chuckling to himself. Raymar the snail farmer. Who would have ever thought? "I know it's a bit strange." "Correction. It's really strange." "Sure," says Aldemir. "It's really strange. But it gives us a chance to start things fresh with the people we love. We just don't have the freedoms we could have here in the capital." "It seems our dreams are coming true," says Raymar, staring into the distance. He snaps back. "Oh, we'll need to come up with a name." "About that." Aldemir sounds like he's about to admit some terrible crime he once committed. "The Queen kind of needed a name so that the contract would be official." "Then what did you say?" asks Raymar suspiciously. "Benor." Raymar can't stifle his laugh. "You mean like the name of our secret base we played in when we were kids?" "I know it's silly," says Aldemir, "but we can change it when our contract ends." "It's a perfect name. Benor was a place you and I would hide in to get away from people and have adventures. That's pretty much what we're doing." Raymar begins toward another doorway. "I'm going to find my wife and kids and tell them about the news." "I heard everything." Raymar's significant other emerges from the very doorway he was trying to enter. "This is truly the best news I've heard in a long time." She gives Raymar a very passionate hug. "Oh my goodness!" exclaims Raymar. "Ow! What? What is it? Have you told your wife yet?" "I've only told you." Raymar looks directly at Aldemir. "You'd best take care of that right now." "You should probably also pretend you haven't told me anything." "You know how wives can be if they aren't the ones who get to hear first." Marith gives her husband a very strong pinch on his back. "You know it." "I'll take your warning to heart and let her know right now." With that, Aldemir grins and dashes out of the house. 2 months later. "And check. That should be everything," says Aldemir, holding a checklist in his hand, marking off everything and everyone that is needed and ready for this departure. "Now we just need to wait for our escort." "The Queen selected the guards herself. They won't be late," Raymar reassures him. "I know you're right. It just seems like every little thing causes me stress right now." "I don't know how you do it," says Raymar. "I would never be able to stay sane trying to orchestrate something like this." "I tell you what, it's not easy to..." He stops himself short. "Ellie! Where are you going?" he shouts to his daughter, who just took off from one of the carts. Raymar puts his hand out to stop Aldemir from taking off after her. "You're stressed. I'll handle this." Aldemir gives him a nod and lets him run after his daughter. "I don't want to go," she yells as she gets further from the caravan that's about to leave. Raymar tries his best to catch up with her, but she zips across a field and darts for a road that leads into the woods, leaving him in the dust. "Eldra! Watch out!" His warning is too late as the leader crashes into 2 guards coming from the same road. She falls backward and tears trickle down her face. One guard bends down to assist her. "Are you all right?" he asks, extending his hand for hers. He can see that she isn't crying because of the fall. "What seems to be bothering you?" A leader looks up and sees the hand that is being offered to her. She accepts the help and proceeds to hug the guard. "It's not fair," she tells him. "What isn't fair?" "I live here, and I love it here, but I'm being forced to leave and go where I don't want to." "Are your parents making you leave?" he asks. "Yeah, they don't seem to care what I think." "Parents like making the tough decisions for us, don't they?" "Tough? This isn't a tough decision. This is an easy decision. Our friends and our lives are here. We shouldn't have to move anywhere." "May I ask what your name is?" The leader replies with the name she prefers to be called. "Eldra." "That's a beautiful name." He places his hand on her shoulder and gives her a warm smile. "Miss Eldra, you may be leaving your friends and your home, but it's a great big world out there with tons of amazing people. Don't think of this as losing your old friends, but instead think of it as making new ones. Besides, your old friends won't be going anywhere. I'm sure you can see them again, and maybe you can introduce them to your new ones." "Gallia is coming with us," responds Alidra. "Is she your friend?" "My best friend. I don't know what I'd do if she wasn't." "Then why don't you both make new friends together? That sounds like quite the adventure." She still looks a bit sad to the guard, staring at the ground. Don't worry about the things you're afraid to miss out on. The world keeps moving and so must we all. Do what can be done today and be ready for what happens tomorrow, because tomorrow is something that no one has ever experienced. Elidria looks up at the guard. I'm sorry, she says. No need to apologize. That's just life. Raymar finally catches up with Elidria. I'm so sorry about that, and thank you. Like I told Miss Elder, there's no need to apologize. It's our job to protect this country, whether from physical threats or even emotional. If someone needs help, we're on the case. Are you folks part of the caravan heading for Benor? That's us, says Raymar. Lucas and I have been assigned as your escorts until Rimdale. We'll be replaced by 2 others there. Can you take us back to your party? Of course. Follow me. Raymar starts to lead the guards back to the caravan. Thank you, Elidria brings her finger to her chin. I don't know what to call you. The guard gives her a huge smile. Arvaicus, he responds. You may call me Arvaicus. Elidria closes her eyes and tilts her head, returning his smile with her own. Thank you, Arvaicus. Elidria grabs Gypsy's leg and tries to force him to place it down a certain way. No, Abby, you don't get the turnip unless you place your hoof here. She's attempting to do something with the horse that would cause most people to question the sanity of the girl. DELSAR bounds out of the trees and enters the clearing where they set up camp. Here's the schedule for... He stops himself short when he sees her doing who knows what with the horse. What are you doing? Elidria stops immediately and walks over to DELSAR with her hands clasped behind her back. We're about a day from the coast, and the boat I chose leaves in 2. It's supposedly an 8-day voyage to Fairview. From there, we will be just 5 days from Benor by land. You shaved a whole week from our trek with this detour. Did you hear that, Abby? We're going to be... She suddenly has a realization. Wait, we can take Abby, right? The ferry I chose transports horses as well as up to 2 carriages. It will just be extra to shuttle them. Wonderful, she exclaims. Abby, we're going on a voyage together. We will be passengers and not crew members. That means we will have 8 days that will be perfect for training and training alone, DELSAR informs her. Speaking of, please tell me did the sword sets I had you practicing before you started doing... He shakes his head again. Whatever it was you were doing with the horse? It was stealth training, and yes, I did. Good. Do them 30 more times. Each? She exclaims. DELSAR lowers his head a bit and raises his eyebrows. Never mind. Elidria pulls out her sword and begins repeating the 2 new forms that DELSAR had taught her the day before. It's the stances that DELSAR keeps snapping at her about. All those corrections he keeps giving her are definitely a bit frustrating, but she can't let such things get to her. This is something she has to get good at. Her village depends on it. Elidria awakes to the sound of rocks and dirt getting knocked around by the spinning of 4 wheels. It's a sound that she has completely become accustomed to. The rattling of the carriage, however, she has not. Despite that, she had no issue sleeping aboard the carriage last night. DELSAR's rigorous training saw to that. He figured that traveling at night would make that time back. Elidria rolls over from her back onto her stomach and attempts to stand. No success. In fact, she can hardly move at all. Every time she tries, her arms give out from under her. DELSAR! She cries out. Ouch! Even that hurts. The carriage comes to a stop, and DELSAR sticks his head in from the front. What? He sounds annoyed. Nothing new. I can't move, Elidria states, lying flat on her back. Why not? Everything just hurts, and even when I try, my body won't listen to me. Elidria has never trained her body like this before. It's your body reacting to the training, DELSAR explains. It means you're getting stronger. Well, I feel like I'm getting weaker. You're just not used to what I put you through yesterday. You can have today off, but after today, you train through the pain. The enemy doesn't wait for you to feel good before they try killing you. You have to learn to fight, even when your body is telling you to give up. Elidria gives him a blank stare. She never actually thought of that. She could lose an arm, but those she fights won't care. So, is this going to be a thing? Yes, and we're in Grondel's capital, he informs her. Oh, just let your body recover. We can get things done more efficiently if I handle setting up our transportation. Alita really can't argue against his plans, even if she wanted to. In that case, I'm just going to lie here for a bit and maybe train Abby some more. Grondel is pretty big. We should arrive at the coast in maybe an hour. He wasn't wrong. After about another hour of travel, the carriage comes to a stop again. We would barely have any left when we reach Fairview. What happened to you having plenty? DELSAR asks. I didn't realize things were this expensive. Making up time costs money. DELSAR shakes his head. It's whatever. We'll make up the money some other way. For now, I need you to go to town and pick up some real food for the horse, and some fruit. This dried pig meat shouldn't be our only food. Will I have enough for that? As long as you remember that those things are bought with silver and not gold. He reaches into the back and snatches her bag. He pulls out a pouch of silver and tosses it to her. She doesn't catch it. She grinds her teeth and scowls at DELSAR. And now you're just rummaging through my bag. He then pulls out the pouch of gold and places it in his own bag. I'm just going to take my bag with me. You didn't have to throw the silver at me. I'm going to just put it back in, she says. DELSAR barely pays her any mind. Make sure you get this done. We get a full sleep tonight. DELSAR turns the head off, but has one last thing to say. Fight through the pain. Right. She sounds like she just gave up a little. If DELSAR is starting on his job, she may as well start on hers. The docks and booth that DELSAR is buying his tickets from are only a couple dozen yards from the carriage and are very much in view of each other. That means there isn't much of a theft threat. She's pretty sure he'll have his eyes on the carriage. However, that also means she has a bit of a walk to get to the market part of town. The roads have signs that clearly mark which way everything is, so it would take someone truly special to get lost here. She locates the sign that reads, Market and Lodging, and follows the road that leads away from the open beaches and seagrass and into the forest. As she continues, the trees begin to get denser and the shadows get darker. I just need to stay on the path. She holds both her hands together against her chest. The smell and breeze from the ocean doesn't seem to penetrate this far into the woods. Everything seems so still and silent. The birds aren't even chirping. DELSAR, or someone else with intuition, would probably have noticed that something is off. Even Alidra senses something wrong, but shrugs it off as her fear of the dark. She is wrong. Hey there, girlie. A round man with an unbuttoned vest, equipped with a club, appears from the darkness in front of her. What's a pretty girl like you wandering round the woods by herself for? Don't you know it can be dangerous? He's right, says another man next to him. He's a bit taller than the first, but definitely smaller in weight. His weapon is a knife. I heard that a woman went missing in these here woods just last week. Alidra draws her sword immediately. Stay back, she warns. The bigger man with the club chuckles. We just want to make sure you're not alone is all. We'll even make sure you're comfortable. Both men start to approach her. Alidra makes a slight attempt to run, but her ankle rolls. I have no strength left. She points her sword directly at the man with the club, but he swats it away. She is unable to keep a hold of her sword, and it crashes down a few feet from her. She turns, but the man grabs her wrist and pulls her closer to him. Why would a looker like you resort to something so violent? I guess we'll have to be violent with her ourselves, says the taller one. Alidra pulls against the man, but is unable to break his grip. She begins screaming for help as loud as she can. "Ain't no one gonna hear you out here." Alidra's heart begins to pound, and her chest starts to burn. "The thumb!" she exclaims out loud. With that, she pivots on her right foot away from the attacker and pulls up and away with her arm. The man is unable to keep his hold and loses his balance trying to get it back. He leans in towards Alidra, and she uses his own momentum, driving her left fist into his mouth. The man shrieks as his front teeth pierce through his lip, and he stumbles backward, dropping his club. The taller man gets upset over her fighting. "You moo!" he yells, fully enraged. "Moo?" The man charges at Alidra, holding his knife above his head. "What am I supposed to do now?" She steps to the side, and the man overshoots her by a few feet. He's slow to turn around, and is now unbalanced. He looks like he could be drunk. "DELSAR said I can't win with my own strength." The tall man begins running at her again. Alidra steps into what DELSAR called a forward bow, dropping her weight and her shoulder toward the man. It was one of the many stances DELSAR had her do over and over. The man's hip crashes into Alidra's shoulder, sending him toppling over her as she crashes backward from the impact. She feels something digging into her back when she hits the ground. It's the hilt of her sword. She spins over and snatches it before standing back up. The bigger man, mouth dripping blood, has his club in both hands, and he does not look happy. He charges at Alidra and swings his club straight for her head. It's clear that he doesn't care whether she's dead or not anymore. She drops into another stance she practiced and slashes his thigh as the club passes harmlessly over her head. He topples over from the pain, but quickly tries to get back up. "Stay down!" Alidra commands, placing her blade against his neck. He has no choice but to do as she says. The taller thug, back on his feet, takes off into the woods. The sound of heavy footsteps and clanging metal approaches them, and two guards appear, running from the market district. Both have their hands on their swords, ready to draw them if needed. Seeing Alidra with her weapon out, the guards draw their own. "Drop your sword, miss. We can handle it from here." Alidra throws her sword to the side, away from the thug. The guards are pretty sure they know what transpired, but they decide to secure the scene before they jump to any conclusions. One of them grabs the sword, while the other keeps watch on Alidra and the man. "We heard a girl yelling for help, though it seems you didn't need any." The thug immediately tries to formulate his own story in an attempt to throw the guards off. "I was walking to the port when this girl assaulted me. I think she was after my money." The guards both look at Alidra and begin laughing. "Do you see the club and dagger?" one asks the other. "I do," the other guard answers as he walks over and picks them both up. "It just so happens," the first guard begins to explain, "that women have been getting assaulted in these woods. Club and dagger is what people have been calling them. Funny how there's a club, a dagger, and a woman here. Where's your friend? He can't be far off." Alidra points into the woods where he ran. The guard nods to his partner and takes off in a sprint, disappearing into the forest. The other guard secures the club and the knife in his pack. He then wipes the blood from Alidra's blade with a rag and hands it back to her. "That's a nice sword. It looks like an older model we used to use." Alidra grabs it from him and sheaths it. "Thank you. A friend of mine gave it to me." "Oh?" "Yeah. He also taught me how to defend myself." "That's a good skill to have." He grabs the thug by his vest and forces him to his feet. "Are you going to the coast?" he asks Alidra. "I'm going to the market." "That's a shame," he replies. "If I didn't have to take this guy the other way, I'd escort you there." "It's no problem. I started my walk alone, so I might as well finish it that way." It really isn't fine. The feeling of being alone in the woods after an encounter like that doesn't sit well with her. The whole experience is starting to pull on her heart. "Thank you for what you've done. You've made Grandal a safer place. May I get a name for my report?" "It's Eldra." "Okay, Miss Eldra. You have a safe walk." Alidra just nods in response. She holds her right hand tight to her chest. "Let's go, punk. Your scumbag days are over." Alidra stands there and watches the guard disappear down the road with her assailant. She finally turns and continues her way to the market. She takes a deep breath, but can't hold back the tears from racing down her cheeks. She even starts weeping audibly as she shivers uncontrollably. The pain in her muscles begin to return as her adrenaline completely dissipates. She feels new pain in her shoulder and her left hand, although that's not why she's crying. The walk to the market from where she is isn't far. In earshot, in fact. Despite that, the walk feels long as she continues saddened and completely alone. Next. The dockmaster ushers DELSAR to the counter. "And what can I do for you?" "I need tickets for the Hasty Wake's departure tomorrow for Fairview," says DELSAR, getting straight to the point. No attempted flattery whatsoever. "Fairview, you say? That's a popular one." She begins looking through her notes. "There's a bit of room left. Will it just be you?" "Me, a girl, a horse, and our carriage." "You're in luck," says the dockmaster. "They've room even for your carriage." DELSAR gives no form of response. "How do you wish to pay?" she asks. "Gold." "Okay, then. Your total is 135 gold. Now wait a minute, DELSAR snaps at the woman. The ticket should only add up to 125. Where did this extra 10 come from? Running a dock isn't free. It's an extra 5 for you and the girl, which goes straight to the docking company. It allows the ferries to dock here for free. I didn't see anything that mentioned this addition, DELSAR says, crossing his arms and huffing. It's just a business, hon. I don't make the rules. I just work here. DELSAR doesn't say anything more. He breathes out a very exasperated breath and begrudgingly hands her over the full payment. Perhaps he could have attempted a negotiation, but at this point, he just wants to be done here and get the tickets. Make sure you don't lose these. She slides him 2 tickets and 2 different permits. You will, of course, need them to board the ferry, but they're your insurance, too. Should something happen that cuts your voyage short, the company will refund you entirely. That is assuming you still have your tickets. You will also be fully refunded if you cancel at least 1 night before departure. You will not be refunded if you cancel tomorrow, unless the ferry can fill your spots. Do you understand? DELSAR just gives her a nod. Make sure your permit for your horse is visible, and place the one for the carriage on its seat. DELSAR responds with a "Yup," and walks off. She talks as much as Elidria. He tries to imagine the two of them getting into a conversation together, but then realizes that they are pretty different. The dockmaster probably has to say those same lines to everyone who buys from her. Meanwhile, Elidria is very much spontaneous, and not even an elven fortune teller would be able to guess her next words. Gah! He's just happy he doesn't have to deal with the dockmaster anymore. But then again, he doesn't like dealing with anyone. DELSAR pulls his pocket watch from his satchel. The line took longer than he had originally hoped, but he should still have time to grab those extra things he wants for Elidria. He just wants to make sure he's back at the carriage first. He begins wandering the docks, looking for any kind of tavern or diner. Where there are people, there is usually food. That's true pretty much anywhere. He begins following a small group who just finished loading one of the boats. They probably just finished a job and are now looking to grab a bite to eat. DELSAR is treating this like some sort of stealth mission, when all he needs to do is ask. That's all it takes for him to confirm his deduction. The group of men enter a building right on the docks, over the water. The big sign above reads, Salty Crustacean. He enters right after them. He then weaves his way through the group as they decide to conglomerate right at the entrance. What a pain. After his successful maneuvering, he walks up to the main bar. Barkeep? Yes? Replies a burly-looking man. Do you have potato products? DELSAR asks. Yeah. Baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, sliced potatoes. We do potatoes, he replies. They go great with our lobster. Mashed potatoes specifically. That's nice. Actually, DELSAR doesn't care. Do you throw your bags away when you're done with them? What are you, some kind of census man? No, I just want the bags. Tell you what, if you try the lobster meal with mashed potatoes, I'll grab you a couple bags. I need 4, but your offer is fine. Roki! 1 lobster meal with mashed potatoes, shouts the keeper to the kitchen. And what to drink? Water. The horse's hooves. They will muffle his walking. DELSAR. Thank you. She holds them tight against her chest, as if they are a precious family heirloom that has just been returned to her. Right. DELSAR doesn't appear to understand her reaction to such an immaterial gesture of throwaways. He has no intention of using the horse once they get close to Benor, so they will likely never use them. However, to her, they are even more proof that he does have a heart in there somewhere. DELSAR gets back to making sure everything is on track. Did you grab the feed for the horse and the fruits for us? I did, though I couldn't carry it all, and I had to hire someone, which did cost a bit extra. The price for the ferry was 10 more gold than it was supposed to be as well, DELSAR informs her. So how much do we have? Elidria asks. 35. Oh? Never mind that. You should get yourself a real meal. He points toward the bar he just came. There's a bar on that dock. Go and eat something. Would you like to come eat with me? She asks. I just ate, so I'll stay here and make sure nothing is missing. She tries again. Can you walk me there? Both of us going would be a waste of time. He points again at the dock. It's right there on... DELSAR, please! Please just come with me. She looks terrified and on the verge of crying. Okay, he responds. You're the boss. He gestures for her to lead the way. The walk there only took about a minute, but it felt long and awkward. Neither of them said a word until entering. The barkeeper greets them with a huge amount of energy. Hey, potato sack! Welcome back. I see you've brought someone with you. Just get her anything she asks for, and deliver it to our booth, instructs DELSAR. I just want whatever you had, please. DELSAR looks at the barkeeper to see if he heard her. Right! He did. Roki, another lobster meal with mashed potatoes. And just water to drink? Alidra perks up. Actually, do you have, apple juice? The burly man gives her a warm smile, likely realizing something is bothering her emotionally. Sure. And for you? The juice will be on the house. 3 silver, potato guy. DELSAR rolls his eyes, realizing that Alidra is again getting a better deal than he did just for being her. He hands him the silver and escorts Alidra to a booth, far from everyone else. He lets her sit first before sitting across from her. All right, what's going on? He asks. Alidra begins her story about what happened in the woods, and fights back her tears as she does. On my way to the market, 2 men attacked me. What? Exclaims DELSAR. How did you get away? Well, I sort of, beat them up. DELSAR gives her a surprised, yet almost proud look. Oh? Yeah, and I think I broke my hand. She holds up her left hand for DELSAR to examine. He leans over the table to get a good look at it. The back of your hand is definitely swollen. Did you punch one of their faces? Yes, but I won't do it again, she quickly says. DELSAR pulls a bandage from his bag and slides out from the bench. He drops to a knee next to hers and reaches for her hand, which she lets him. He is about to start wrapping it, but looks up at her watering tears first. Tell me, what is really bothering you? Alidra grimaces, not from the pain in her hand, but by the thoughts that keep playing in her head. Those men. She stops, barely keeping it together. The guards said they attacked other women before me. I don't think they were there just to randomly attack me. She can't hold her streams of tears back any longer. They begin flowing violently off her face. What if they were going to do something to me worse than death? What if they already did it to those other women? DELSAR sits on his knee, completely shocked. His mouth drops a little as he tries to think of something to say, though her experience was something he knows he can't ever identify with. He slides onto the bench next to her. She wastes no time and grabs him, bearing her head into his side. Alidra, you feel now the burden of fighting evil, he stutters periodically. The toll it has on your soul. There are people going through unspeakable things right now, and no one is around to save them. A woman will walk through those woods and not even know that she was in danger because you already saved her. Think of those people, the ones you saved, not the ones you couldn't. No, says Alidra, still with her head tucked away. The ones we failed are the ones we should think about and strive to rescue. I escaped, and this is how I feel. She looks up at DELSAR. Imagine those who couldn't escape. The pain they are in even now. If we fight only for good feelings, then we are no different than those men. The words from Alidra are like nothing he's heard before. He used to save people because it made himself happy. To him, there isn't a real difference between someone doing what most consider is right versus someone who many label as a villain. They both are only doing it to feel happy. At least, that's what he's always thought. For every wrong in the world, there are a dozen more opportunities to make it right, he finally says. I won't forget those who suffer just because it hurts a little, she tells him. I'm going to save my village, and I'll do it regardless of my hand or my feelings. She makes a fist with her left hand and stares at DELSAR. Whether she said those things just to hear them for herself, or because she truly wishes to live by them, DELSAR is certain her convictions are very much set in stone and no one can change her mind about them. He gently takes her left hand. That doesn't mean you can't heal. You'll fight better if your hand isn't broken. And I will fight just as hard either way. She opens her fist and lets him tightly wrap it with the bandage. I know you will. DELSAR ties a knot in the bandage and lowers her hand. Alidra wipes away her tears and looks at the table. The food is here. The barkeeper somehow managed to place the meal and drink on the table without either of them noticing. It was kind of him not to interrupt them. Hey! Exclaims DELSAR. Alidra startles. It took them over 15 minutes to prepare my meal. It's been like 5 for this one. They just like me more. Alidra gives her eyes closed, head tilted smile. I'm going to have to write a complaint about this. Picking favorites, grumbles DELSAR. DELSAR takes in a deep breath. Just enjoy your meal now. Alidra already has her lobster flipped over, digging for the juicy parts. DELSAR ponders everything that was just said in his mind. Despite how terrible her experience was, it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to her. Now she feels the burden of combat and the emotions that go with them. Considering what she said, she experienced even more than just that. This was something she needed before getting to Benor. Elidria gobbles down her meal and leaves no lobster meat. That was definitely not your first lobster, DELSAR states. I live in Benor, remember? I thought snails were your... He is interrupted by a man crashing through the door and entering the bar. Help me, he cries. My town, my family. He starts to hyperventilate and is unable to give any clear message. One patron rushes over to the man. Sir, what is happening to your town? The man is able to compose himself enough to deliver his plea. There are trolls in my town. At least 6 of them. They kill our guards and anyone else they saw. My family's still there. I couldn't get them out. A leader turns to DELSAR. We have to? No. But we don't have time. Our boat leaves at noon tomorrow. We can't miss that. We can't just turn our backs on his town. They need our help. We turn our backs on your village if we do help, says DELSAR. We'll make the time back some other way. We have to help them. It might feel that way, but there are others. Do what can be done today and be ready for what happens tomorrow, for tomorrow is something that no one has ever experienced. DELSAR is taken aback as he recognizes his own words. We can't help my village today, but we can help his, she continues. I will not let them experience tomorrow like this. Eldra is the only word DELSAR is able to respond with. Yes, DELSAR, that's me. She smiles and tears up at the same time. We can save them. And we can make it back, he tells her. We can make it all back. He turns to the man. How far is your town? I think I've been running for the last 2 hours, he claims. We'll take my carriage. You tell us where to go. Let's go then, he exclaims. Before he follows him from the bar, DELSAR turns to the rest of the patrons. Will anyone else join us? No one answers. I'll ask again. Will any of you help us? Still no one. The thought of fighting 6 trolls that just killed the well-trained guards doesn't sit well with any of them. Very well. Elidria? Of course, she replies. Wait! A man, darker than the barkeeper, steps out of the kitchen. Roki? Questions the barkeeper. This is something I need to do, says the cook, who looks about DELSAR's size. Then let's go. We leave now. No one else says anything or offers any kind of aid. DELSAR leads the team of 4 from the bar as fast as they can run. He looks over at the dockmaster's booth. If I cancel now, I'll get all our money back. He thinks about it for a moment before letting the thought pass. That will waste precious time. Plus, there is still a line. The group all pile into the front of the carriage. Which way? Demands DELSAR. The man points at the eastern road. That road will take us straight there. Come on, gypsy. Show us your worth.